Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump is going to get an over $2 billion total victory when this is all said and done. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. The appellate court, the appellate judges in New York, in a civil fraud case, and you'll hear from them in a second, their verdict and decision is almost 100% going to go for Trump. When that takes place, could be Monday, could be tomorrow, could be today, could be next week or next month. It's going to be a $2 billion plus victory. These are very popular segments. I explain the dollar amount in each of these segments. Hit subscribe. Check this out.
Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated.
Ms. Vail, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transactional losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Oh, several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Well, maybe I'll take that first, Your Honor.
So Trump has won this just from the questions from the New York Appeals Court. The New York Appeals Court, as you can see in Reuters and other publications, they're not buying the nonsense from Leticia James's team, from her office. You have allegations of Leticia James, the mortgage fraud. You also have allegations that Kathy Hochul is preventing or stopping an eventual victory from Trump from taking place. Okay, that will be talked about right now in a second. But listen to this. Not only was there no victim, the alleged victim testified on Trump's behalf. These are very, very important segments, ladies and gentlemen. Share this everywhere because it proves that President Trump not only has a victory upcoming, $2 billion, $1.5 billion Mar-a-Lago estimate in terms of evaluation. So the New York court said it was worth $18 million. You'll see the $1.5 billion valuation in a second. Then the over $500 million in fines and fees, and the initial court decision in New York against Trump. That's over $2 billion that he's essentially going to get with this victory. I know each of these segments I do, it goes up in terms of the number, dollar amount that he wins, but President Trump is in the money. He is going to win a huge, huge, huge victory, and New York Democrats, I don't think, want this to come out. So they're trying their best to stop the eventual victory from taking place. Check this out. The victim testified on behalf of Trump, the defendant here.
A number of Deutsche Bank employees, this is the story, they told the New York judge that they made millions of dollars from Mr. Trump's businesses and saw no fraud in the loans they approved. They told the judge that Trump repaid his loans with interest. There was never any concern that Trump defrauded the bank, and they unveiled a parade of emails going back years where the bankers heaped compliments and praise for the Trumps and their businesses. The banker story goes all the way back to 2011, that's 12 years ago, regarding the renovation of the Doral Golf Club near Miami, Florida. That turned out to be a tremendous success story. The bankers also testified that Mr. Trump paid off his loans, frequently paid off his loans ahead of schedule. Indeed, the co-CEO of Deutsche Bank testified that the bank in 2013, in a meeting at Trump Tower, he suggested the bank could lend Mr. Trump even more money because Mr. Trump's creditworthiness was so strong. Now, this goofy Justice Engoron with all his...
So you have, ladies and gentlemen, a victory on the not only essentially already taken place. The bank that was supposed to have been defrauded literally testified on behalf of Trump. Only Democrats could get away with this complete and utter nonsense, with media giving snippets of the truth and generally omitting the fact that not only was nobody defrauded, but the people who were allegedly defrauded actually defended President Trump, actually served as his defense. Now, why isn't this... and you'll get to the valuation in 1 second, but why isn't this coming to a final decision? Well, you will hear, and this is the first segment, you will hear exactly why.
But if these allegations that are being put forth turn out to be true, she is going to be facing the same sort of bankruptcy and turning over of her assets to the state that Donald Trump had to through that trial.
Well, I've got a sort of a follow-on question for this. Do you remember the February meeting between Trump and Governor Hochul, New York Governor Hochul, over New York City's congestion tax? Well, the New York Post is reporting that Hochul threatened Trump over the measure. She referred to the appeal against his civil fraud case and told him, "I control the judges." Hochul is denying that report. But my question is Trump still subject to that $480 million penalty?
So does Hochul control the court? She probably doesn't control the judges, the individual judges, but does she control or does she have influence on how the court or when the court is going to finally give Trump that victory? Because that victory is predicated on a number of things. The questions, the skepticism of the justices, which I think were very honorable in their questions. The court itself could have been influenced, maybe not the individual justices, but the court itself, the process itself, could be influenced by the governor. So they don't want, especially going after George Santos for over 7 years or so, they want the public relations victories of having to go after Republicans. They don't want Leticia James or Andrew Cuomo or being criminally charged and indicted. They don't want President Trump, after years of claiming that he inflated his net worth, to win an epic victory. Listen to this. This is the $2 billion that he's going to eventually win. An explanation, the $2 billion.
152 million. If you do some very simple math, 152 million times 10, which equates to the 20 acres of Mar-a-Lago, you're at 1.5 billion. That's not taking into account the 100,000 square feet of house that he has on the land. It's similar frontage. So that's 500 million of house. So 1.5 billion of land plus 500 million of house, you're at 2 billion, in my opinion. Even if you short, say that it's really, more than 1.5 or 1.75, the 18 million evaluation was so far off base and clearly done by someone who has no understanding of Palm Beach Island real estate or its pricing.
Well, I mean, it's
If you have an absolutely set in stone $1.5 billion valuation, not the 18 million the Democrats kept saying, it's a $1.5 billion valuation. So after that victory that he gets, he essentially has already gotten the victory, and they're potentially, Hochul and others in the Democratic Party are potentially stopping or slowing up the process of President Trump getting that final victory. But if you have a $1.5 billion valuation that's finally accepted by the world because he never inflated his net worth, plus the 500 plus million, including interest that he gets, it's about $2 billion. If you look at it that way, it's about a $2 billion victory for President Trump. Nonetheless, like I said, Democrats want to go after George Santos, and you have, let's just put it this way. The same people who say, oh, there's nothing going on with the Uranium One deal. You know what? Biden preemptively pardoning everyone around him, not a big deal. But you know what? If you wear tailored suits, the 7 years in prison. And I'm not saying it wasn't bad what Santos did, but 7 years. There are people who accidentally take the lives of others and get less. Hit subscribe to this channel. The public relations stunt the Democrats wanted is going to come crashing down. He'll get that victory soon, and this is huge. Hit subscribe. Thank you so very, very much.